In this video, we're going to be giving you 3 exercises you can easily do at home to improve your paddling in the water. I'm Considine, a physiotherapist and competitive surfer, and I've been helping surfers improve and restore their paddling for a while now, and have built my paddle rehab programs around this. And in my experience, training for paddling is something where I see so much opportunity missed. We focus on muscles that are used to pull through the water, which, whilst these are important, they don't train the reason our paddling or technique is failing, which 90% of the time is actually the inability to create or maintain the proper strength through the key positions. But today, we're going to go through all of that. If you find this valuable, then please feel free to subscribe and share with a friend who this might help as well. But let's get straight into things. The first exercise is what I call the seated shoulder external rotations. And this one targets the external rotators of the shoulder, specifically the infraspinatus, which is one of the 4 rotator cuff muscles. When we think about paddling efficiency and longevity, shoulder health has to be up there with the most critical elements. The rotator cuff plays a foundational role here. It's what keeps the humeral head, which is the ball of your shoulder joint, centered and controlled inside the socket during every stroke. And when your external rotators are weak, especially the infraspinatus, you start to lose that positional control. Instead of gliding through the water with good mechanical leverage, your shoulder starts to shift around, usually upward and forward. That's where you'll start getting stress at the front of the shoulder, tightness in the pecs, and eventually impingement-like symptoms. This exercise strengthens the exact movement that keeps the shoulder externally rotated and stable. Sit on the floor in long sitting with your legs stretched out straight in front. Cross your right leg over your left if you're working the right arm. This acts as an elbow shelf and keeps the humerus in a neutral plane. Adjust your leg position until your shoulder feels relaxed. Hold a light dumbbell, about 0.5 to 2 kilos in your working hand. Set your elbow at a 90-degree angle so your upper arm is vertical and your forearm is pointing up like it's at 12 o'clock. The wrist should be neutral, not extended back. Begin the rep by slowly rotating your forearm downwards towards the ground. Keep your elbow pinned on your leg shelf, we can't be shifting this, and rotate down with control to about 9 o'clock horizontal or even 8 o'clock depending on your range and control. Pause briefly at the bottom and then slowly rotate back up to your start position. Stay smooth and avoid using momentum or speed. The common mistakes to avoid here are losing our elbow position. This will happen if we're not controlling the load appropriately. If we roll off the knee, position your elbow back directly on the knee, as once it lifts or drifts, the rotator cuff isn't going to be isolated quite as well. Hitching the shoulder upward is also another problem, and often means your upper traps are taking over. We also want to avoid using momentum. Rushing the rep reduces mechanical tension and builds bad habits. And then also having too much weight. A heavier dumbbell doesn't equal better results here. Control and fatigue wins. To make it easier, drop the dumbbell and use a resistance band or even no resistance at all. Just focus on perfecting the movement. And to make it harder, we can raise your supporting knee so the arm is more horizontal. This increases the lever and makes the cuff work harder. Or you can also use tempo work to increase time under load, for example 3-second eccentrics and 1-second pauses. Start with 2 to 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps per arm and focus on clean, smooth control. If you're compensating, drop the weight or reps. The second exercise is something I call partial paddles because it mimics part of the paddling motion, and this one builds our postural endurance and strengthens all the posterior chain muscles that keep your paddling strong and pain-free. This one targets the rear delts predominantly, but also the upper, middle, and lower trapezius muscles, the spinal extensors, and the scapular stabilizers. This one is so important because when you paddle, you're basically holding an isometric or static spinal extension for minutes at a time, with your arms doing hundreds of small arcs behind and overhead. That position, the slight back arch, the open chest, and the active shoulder retraction is not natural for most people, especially people who do a lot of sitting for work. So what we typically see happening here is at some point sooner or later in your session, the paddling drifts from strong to the shoulders slumping forwards, shoulders shrugging up, they lose their rhythm and start compensating like this. Because of these poor mechanics, this is the cause for a lot of the stress and overload or gradual onset injuries I see for surfers. This is where we can also think we have poor technique, but it's the inability for the body to hold certain positions which is the real factor. Technique does still play an important part here, however, and if you are looking to refine this for yourself, then we have a full section at longboardsessions.com to help surfers perfect this. And for this video today, I've also created and bunched together a bunch of free resources at Longboard Sessions for you to dive into as well. 100% free for you to check out if you'd like. But with this exercise, we mimic that paddling arc that strengthens the muscles that hold you in that position, because it's the failure of the muscles which maintain our posture when paddling which leads to sore movement and poor technique, much more than the muscles like the lats, which are our paddling power muscles, which most of us focus on. For this one, lie face down prone on a mat or the floor. Forehead down, arms and legs long. Place two objects, like books, plates or blocks, in line with your shoulders. Today, I'm using a couple of weight plates. Start with the arms in a Y position overhead. Gently lift the chest a few centimeters off the ground using your spinal extensors, and keep your glutes and lower back engaged. Lift both arms off the ground and slowly sweep them around in a semicircle. Keep the arms straight the entire time and aim to lightly tap the ground next to your hips. Then reverse the motion, bringing the arms back over into the Y position again and tapping the floor in front at each repetition. For this one, think proud chest. Lift from the sternum, not from the chin. Keep the elbows straight like you're drawing a half circle with locked out arms, and avoid excessive shoulder shrugging here as well. Keep the shoulder blades down and back. The common mistakes here are usually at bending the elbow, as this takes load off the correct muscles. We want to make sure not to do this. Excessive neck extension can also happen, and dropping the chest halfway through the set also happens, and this interferes with your posture endurance that we're trying to train. To make it easier, reduce the range of the arc, and to make it harder, elevate the markers and make sure your hands clear them. Add half a kilo or 1 kilo weight plates to each hand as well, and we can increase our time under tension by using a slower tempo. For endurance, start with 3 sets of 30 seconds, working up to 60 to 90 seconds per round, and rest for 30 to 60 seconds between sets. The last exercise, and honestly probably the one that unfortunately doesn't see the light of day nearly as much as it needs to when it comes to paddling strength, is our seated good mornings. This one will activate the erector spinae muscles, or the lower back extensors, as well as the spinal stabilizers and the hip adductors. So many surfers train the shoulders and a few train the core, but barely anyone deliberately strengthens through their lumbar spine. And that's a huge issue, because if your lower back fatigues, then everything upstream starts overworking. Your paddling posture relies heavily on isometric lumbar extension. That arch through the spine supports your chest, keeps your eyes up, and gives your shoulders and arms a foundation to move from. If that arch fades because your back is a little weak, then our chest drops, your head lifts too high, and your upper traps take over. That's when you start getting sore, or at the worst end of things, tension headaches, neck strain, rotator cuff disorders, and shoulder impingement. This exercise teaches your body how to hinge and how to load the back properly, and how to build endurance in a postural shape. That's literally what you do in the water. Sit on the edge of a sturdy chair or bench, feet flat, knees bent, with feet and knees positioned wide. Think sumo position, but you're sitting down. Hold a dumbbell or two vertically like this, or just use body weight to start. Your arms should be hanging loosely between your legs. Start tall through the spine, chin tucked slightly with the eyes forward, and begin to hinge from the hips, not the spine. Keep your back flat as you descend. Go as low as you comfortably can, ideally until your fingertips or the weight touches the ground. You feel a deep stretch through the inner thighs and tension in your spinal muscles. Pull yourself back up using your lower back, and for this, no pushing through the feet. The muscles either side of your spine should do all the work here. The common mistakes to avoid here is firstly rounding the spine, which whilst this isn't inherently bad for you, it's not the target of this stage of this exercise. And using the feet to push up. That's a sign that your glutes are driving the movement, and you may feel your hips about to lift off the seat here as well. These are the signs that we're compensating through the glutes, which we don't want. To make it easier, remove the weight and complete a smaller hinge range. And to make it harder, we can add dumbbells and further slow down the tempo. For example, 4 seconds down, 2 seconds up. So I hope that was really helpful. I'd love to hear what of this is helpful to you as you start to begin this process. And also let me know of any other sort of challenges that I might have missed in the video today, and I can potentially do some more videos on that. If you have a look somewhere on the screen here, then there's a really important paddling video that you can go through in terms of how to get yourself into the wave much easier from a technique perspective. But we'll catch you on the next edit.